What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, keep you up to date, and keep you informed with everything that the government does. But, sometimes, every once in a while, we like to cover something just for the lulz, right? And we have these committee hearings, and they're quite outrageous. It's more of a circus most of the time when you got some insane Democrats and some corrupt Republicans all getting together in the same room and they start questioning people about certain things. Oh, it can get crazy because the Democrats will go extreme left and go really hard one way and just ignore logic outright. While Republicans over here just, I don't know what the hell they do sometimes, but it's in a category all of its own, I should say. We've got some Republicans, like I've said before, we've got some Republicans that can actually rationally put together a pretty good argument. But, still sometimes some of these Republicans will do the same thing as what Democrats do and just go hard this direction and ignore logic outright. But we got to get into this again because, what we're getting into, I'm going to tell you right off. Okay, the committee hearing we had the other day, the oversight committee hearing on Joe Biden's impeachment, okay, that was an absolute circus, okay? It was funny as hell. We learned a lot from, some of the Republicans. Some of them we didn't. But we also learned that for some reason, Fulton County is charging a crime that's not a crime. RICO, apparently, according to AOC, is no longer a crime. Get this, folks. Donald Trump charges questioned after AOC declares RICO not a crime. Yeah, she actually said that. Made a complete ass out of herself on this one. Just a complete ass out of herself. You should have seen that exchange. If you haven't seen that exchange, go look it up. Tony Bobulinski and AOC, look it up. As a matter of fact, Forbes has just that clip. It's great. But don't do that yet. Finish watching this video, by the way. We'll get into it. Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said on Wednesday that racketeering, influence, and corruption organizations, RICO, is not a crime, sparking questions online over the former President Donald Trump's RICO charges in Georgia. In December, the House of Representatives vetoed to launch an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden in a 221 to 212 vote, with members voting along party lines. Republicans allege that while serving as vice president between 2009 and 2017 under President Barack Obama, Biden used his influence to improperly support the business activities of his son, from which they suggest he gained financially. The president has said he had no involvement with Hunter's business dealings, and the White House has described the GOP's impeachment effort as sad, pathetic, and a waste of everybody's time. Have you listened to the freaking evidence? Have you listened to the freaking evidence? No, Democrats will not listen to the evidence whatsoever. Now, I will have to admit outright, like I said yesterday, there is no smoking gun. We didn't find Joe Biden with the murder weapon and blood all over his clothes. But, essentially, we found the murder weapon in his backyard buried. Doesn't have his fingerprints on it. But why is the murder weapon buried in your backyard, Joe? We know for a fact Hunter Biden called Joe Biden, said, hey, we've got an attorney general in Ukraine investigating our company for corruption. 5 days later, Joe Biden flies to Ukraine and tells the president of Ukraine at the time, if you do not fire this prosecutor, you do not get the $1 billion.
6 hours, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch.
That is some of the major evidence in this. All of the other evidence, however, we've got wire transfers from CEFC and Burisma to shell companies owned by Hunter Biden and James Biden. And then shortly after that, we've got withdrawals from those shell companies by James Biden's wife, then deposited into their personal checking account. And then shortly after that, we've got money from that personal checking account, a check directly to Joe Biden from James Biden. There's several of these checks as quote-unquote loan repayments. So whether or not Joe Biden knew of the influence peddling, there is a plenty of evidence to show that there is influence peddling going on, that Joe Biden was enriched from Hunter Biden and James Biden's business dealings. There is proof of that. Whether we know Joe Biden knew that's what they were doing, that you can't prove. That's the smoking gun we don't have. Yeah, you could call it a loan repayment, but who loans out $250,000, by the way, in cash? Because there is no subsequent withdrawal from Joe Biden's personal checking account that says there's a loan payment to James Biden. There is not that transaction. We don't have that transaction. So obviously, if Joe Biden actually loaned James Biden $250,000, it had to be in cash because he didn't pull it out of his bank. That is about as close to a smoking gun as we're going to get. And like I've said before, you put me on a jury, I would convict on that. Yes, he's definitely guilty. Now, there is such a high bar for impeachment. I don't know if we could ever get an impeachment on that. And when you have Democrats constantly running a gauntlet for Joe Biden and the Biden crime family, yeah, it's going to be real hard to get an impeachment plus a conviction. And then second, on top of all that, what good is it going to do at this point, right? That would totally undermine democracy because you would take out the front runner of the Democratic presidential nomination. Boom. Who the hell are they going to get to replace him? Dean Phillips? Do you even know who Dean Phillips is? RFK Jr. is not a Democrat. Of course, at that point, he might go back to a Democrat or we might get somebody totally different. But you would have the entirety of the left, the entirety of the Democrat Party yelling, my democracy, which at this point, I don't care about your power. I really don't like the Democrats having as much institutional power as they do have. Look what the hell they've done. They've trumped up charges on Donald Trump. They've trumped up charges on all kinds of people that doesn't make national headlines. I read the news, so I read about these stories all the damn time, and it scares the hell out of me. It really does. Let's keep going with the story, because I've went off on a damn tangent. During the exchange, Ocasio-Cortez asked Bobby Linsky to specifically name crimes he witnessed Biden commit. Is it your testimony today that you personally witnessed President Joe Biden commit a crime? In response, Bobby Linsky said, yes, you asked me to answer the question. I answered the question. Rico, you're obviously not familiar with corruption. Now, there was some more back and forth. That's kind of taken out of context a little bit because he paused for a second and then he said, yes, I did. And then she's like, what crime? What specific crime? So he started saying, corruption statutes and RICO. And that's when she was like, however, Bobby Linsky could continue. Ocasio-Cortez interjected by stating, excuse me, sir, RICO is not a crime. It's a category. What is the crime? Since Ocasio-Cortez's comments, some have taken to X, formerly Twitter, to point out Trump's RICO charges in Georgia. Trump and 18 co-defendants were indicted by a Georgia grand jury in August and faced criminal racketeering charges for allegedly attempting to overturn the state's electoral results in the 2020 election won by Biden. Trump, the presumptive 2024 Republican presidential nominee, has pled not guilty to all 13 charges against him and has repeatedly said the case is part of a political witch hunt, which it is. It most certainly is. Which, speaking of, by the way, update on that, you know the judge, Mr. McAfee, or Judge McAfee, his ruling to, I guess you could say, split the baby, but split up Nathan Wade or Fani Willis from the case. You know, one of them can stay, but the other one got to go. Yeah, that decision that was like blew the minds of everybody, because he even said outright there's obvious impropriety going on and an odor of mendacity. An odor of mendacity. No, there is just mendacity. But he pretty much refused to disqualify Fani Willis when there was obvious, very obvious signs of conflict of interest going on with that, right? I mean, Fani Willis got up to testify. She got up to testify and perjured herself several times. But that was just ignored outright by Judge McAfee. But guess what he did? So, yeah, I laid out the context. Guess what he did? Okay, he is allowing, which I didn't know you could disallow, an appeal. Yeah, he's allowing Trump to appeal his decision to split the baby. So, think about this for a second. So what does that tell you? That tells you that he's looking after his own ass. For sure. Because he didn't want to side with the Trump lawyers. Because he might not get voted in because he's in one of the only blue districts in Georgia. Yeah, Georgia is deep red except for Fulton County. And a couple other little small spots. But it's deep red. So he didn't want to piss off the only Democrat stronghold in Georgia. So he decided to side with Fani Willis on that. But he also realizes that yeah, there's a major conflict of interest going on. Fani Willis perjured herself. There's going to be some sort of repercussions. So what does he do? In classic Democrat fashion, he hands it off to somebody else. You do this, I'm not touching it whatsoever. Yeah, you go ahead and appeal my decision, please. Let somebody else take the fall for actually serving justice and punishing somebody in a position of power who abused the shit out of their power. Insanity in Fulton County, y'all. Insanity. Outright insanity. I could go over some of the comments people made, but, I mean, you can go on X if you want to and just look up at the buttloads of people that were like, oh, well, Fani needs to drop Trump's case now. Well, that's not going to happen, right? However, when this does go to appeals court, right, and if the judge is a sane judge and is looking at this fairly, not in any one side, not a partisan judge, looking at it fairly, she or he will clearly see a conflict of interest and a breach of trust in the judicial system. And she will rule that Fani Willis is disqualified from this case, in which this case will be gone. Yeah. If Fani Willis gets dropped from this case, you can say bye-bye to the RICO charges on Donald Trump. This whole indictment is going to be gone because there is not going to be another prosecutor, another district attorney in Georgia that will want to touch this case. Outright, just boom. Is that bad news for Trump? No, that's great news for Trump. Because, to be honest with you, when you see some funny business going on with elections and some possible fraud, and you go to investigate that, and then you get RICO charges put on you for investigating fraud in an election, yeah, there's a major problem with our criminal justice system going on with that, folks. Look into it. It's insane to me. If you go look into all this, I've delved deep into that. I've delved deep, quite deep, kind of deep, into all of Trump's indictments, because if I'm going to get behind Trump on this, I need to know if he's, how much evidence there is. I mean, some of the evidence is like, it's kind of iffy on some of the stuff, right? Like the documents case. He did have the right to declassify all those documents outright, but he didn't. So he kept the classified documents. Now, we know how I feel on this, right? We know that Joe Biden should be under the jail for his classified documents case. Hillary Clinton should be under the jail for her classified documents case. They're not even looking at Mike Pence for having classified documents. What's going on with that? We're only charging Trump. Why? But there is some questions over some of these documents. There's some question. So, in my opinion, should that go to court and let a jury decide? Yes. I think they should. That's the only one that I think. However, like I said, I think that all presidents get to take home documents. So why are they going after Donald Trump? They should go after every president, because it's guaranteed that every single president for the last at least 20 presidencies has taken classified documents to the House. So that's almost a guarantee. But they only decide to go after Donald Trump. By God, they were under Secret Service protection, locked up in a safe. Joe Biden had them laying around the freaking garage. Hillary Clinton tried to delete the classified files. No sane prosecutor would charge Hillary Clinton. Shut up, dude. Shut up. That threw me off as well. But that's all I got for this one, y'all. I've ranted for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. I mean, how hilarious is it to watch Democrats whinge when the evidence is put in their face and they really can't deny it? You can't deny the evidence. Sure, there's no smoking gun, like I said, but the evidence is quite clear. There was definitely some influence peddling going on there, and yeah, we don't like that in our government. They seem to be fine with it, though. The Democrats are like, oh yeah, corruption? We do that all the time, y'all. Why are you going after Biden on that? You're going to have to come after all of us. Republicans, too. Yeah. I'm not going to leave out Republicans on that one, because we have a lot of corrupt Republicans. However, we do have some good Republicans. And we do have some middle of the road that, kind of corrupt, but they do some good things. Republicans that are okay. But for the most part, 98% of all politicians are bad people, folks. And we need to do something and get these people out of here. And like I said, let me know down in the comments what you think. That's all I got for this one, you guys. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. Thanks. Y'all try to have a good one and stay positive. Peace.